Right now, literally July 19th, I looked. Top health questions are getting typed into Google by men about your age. And more than anything else, these are the top questions that are getting asked. And some of the top answers are wrong. One of them, the answer was actually comes from a study that was already debunked. You know the moment, it's 11 at night, your knees still hurt from squats, your gut feels like it's about to blow up. You open your phone and type a question in, and you get 6 different answers from 6 random sites, or AI mode is turned on now, right? Today we fix that. 10 real questions, real studies behind every single one. I triple checked on those. Let's rip through all 10 right now. Welcome back to Driven for Health, podcast episode 138. Coach Brian here. These are, we're not guessing here, real questions I found this month in Google. I pulled up real data, and here's what we've got. Now, again, I'm a coach, not a doctor. Nothing here is medical advice. Have to always throw that one in there. Number one, the FDA, how they changed what they think about testosterone therapy. For years, doctors could only prescribe TRT if there was a clear physical cause for low testosterone. They worried about heart risk, mainly. They worried about guys chasing a prescription for normal aging instead of a real medical problem, right? We've seen that especially in, say, Hollywood. That kept a lot of guys from getting locked out from the opportunity to take it, even if they really did have low T, even if their labs were showing signs of that. This has changed. The FDA invited TRT manufacturers to apply for a new approval. This one covers low libido in men with unexplained low T. Not just the old cases, but companies have until April 30th, 2026 to say they're interested. So this was something that has happened and is now moving forward. And this follows an expert panel review from December 2025 that looked at a real trial data. This is obviously early, and the FDA hasn't approved anything yet, but any real approval still needs full clinical evidence showing the benefits outweigh the risks. Here's what it means for you. If you have fatigue, low drive, your mood is in the gutter, sleep is wrecked for no reason, you go to bed on time, you have your sleep routines and all that stuff. If 2 or 3 of those sound familiar, then don't chase a prescription off of a headline. Get your blood panels done first. Start having a real conversation with doctors that know you and that can prescribe what the next best steps is for you, and have an actual real conversation about what's going on with your blood panel. Then you get it read about how to treat your hormones and not just whoever ordered the test. So you actually want that professional that is giving you the instructions to know what they're doing. Question number 2, does skipping sex for a week spike your testosterone? You may have seen claims, abstain for 7 days, testosterone jumps 45% up. Boom, right? It's on fitness forums, Reddits, supplement ads, of course, and half the alpha male content on your feed, but it's false. And this is coming from a 2003 study looking at 28 men. Researchers found testosterone spiked on day 7. One time in that small group of 28 men. Unfortunately, it's just not a large group, if you know what I'm saying. And it dropped right back down to baseline, even through continued abstinence, like 14 days. The study got retracted. It wasn't bad data. Authors had already published the same work in a different journal as well. No study since has been repeated for these findings, and that's something to know and understand too, is that Snoops rates this 45% claim as false, and some later research shows no real effect from abstinence at all. Here's why this one goes beyond just trivia. Guys change real behavior over fake science and fake news all the time. You see it in this day and age. They build their entire routines around a stat that isn't actually real. Look at the supplement industry. Holy cow. I actually recorded episode 140 earlier tonight, and it was a gentleman by name Jamie. He lost 38 pounds in the 100-day fat loss challenge, The Call to Rise. I actually banned him from buying supplements because he kept buying these things after the fact, asking me about them. I said, dude, they don't have a minimum viable dose. They aren't effective. You're getting sold hype, and you don't even know how much you're supposed to take of these things. Stop it. You're not allowed to buy supplements anymore. And like, this is a real thing. He has spent hundreds or if not thousands of dollars chasing the muscle man in the inside the advertisements about this. So we don't want to do this. So this was retracted. It's a 20-year-old study on 28 guys. Is not an actual testosterone protocol to be able to weigh and measure actual real facts. So stop building your week around these numbers and put your energy into training, sleeping, healthy nutrition, things that I've gone over ad nauseum on this podcast redundantly. Podcast episode 5 through 11, the nutrition pyramid, episode 17 to 23, the strength training pyramid. That'll get you started and with science-backed information that's supported for decades since it's been out. Question 3, GLP-1 drugs. The muscle you don't see leaving. I covered this in episode 123 and did another 2 episodes of 121 and 131 on GLP-1, so you could totally do this and check that out. Ozempic, Wegovy can definitely melt fat fast, but they take off muscle along with it if you're not careful with doing the right types of protocol. And that is the thing that hopefully through this podcast and through just general media, you're starting to see some of this show up. And where you actually see the impact is you're just literally weaker months later, maybe even see it in your balance. And it depends on how old you are, but it could be a very negatively setting you back, especially if you're closer to 60s or 70s. And how easily your metabolism can stall out. And you're just like, wow, I barely eat any food. Why is it that I am here? Well, if you have restricted calories over a long time, your metabolism adapts. Stanford researchers tested a new compound this year called MF-300. It helped preserve muscle repair in animals treated with GLP-1 drugs. It's already passed phase 1 safety trials in humans and phase 2B trials on the deck for later this year. Stanford's lead researcher, Helen Blau, put it as simple as it can. There is a major unmet need for a drug that can help GLP-1 users preserve their muscle health and strength. And the amount of muscle that you have on your body is a lead determiner of all-cause mortality. The more muscle mass you have, the more likely it is that you will live for longer, which is kind of important. The drug class works for scale for companies and it works for your scale home. The number on the scale isn't necessarily good weight loss though. muscle can go along with it. And I share some percentages in episode 123 of how much percentage actually goes with muscle. It can increase of 15, 20, 30% of the body weight loss could be coming from muscle, and that will slow down your metabolism naturally because it's metabolically active tissue. If you're on a GLP-1, resistance training is mandatory at least 2 times a week, but ideally 3. Guys, you should be eating a minimum 150 grams of protein or more, probably a lot more if you are on a GLP-1, and you'll have to push through some of the appetite suppression and just get it in anyways. Again, listen to episode 121 or 123 or 131 for a little more detail on GLP-1s. I broke it down, followed a lot of science-backed information there too. Question 4. Your beer belly comes from more than just beer. Researchers with the Oxford Biobank tracked alcohol intake against visceral fat in almost 6,000 adults. That's a sizable study. That's the fat. The visceral fat is wrapped around your organs, not just the fat under your skin. That's subcutaneous fat. It's the kind of fat, the visceral fat, that's linked to heart disease, insulin resistance, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. Men who drank about twice as much each week carried over 10% more visceral fat than men who drank less. And this holds up even after adjusting for age and activity level in this study. It's not just calories in a can. The heavier drinks specifically push fat toward the dangerous kind. So the higher calories and heavier the drink will start to do that. The kind that where your heart and your liver are affected. 2 guys can drink the exact same calories in a week and end up with different fat depending on how those drinks are spread out and how heavy your patterns of behaviors around alcohol actually works. Cut 2 drinks out a week before you touch anything else in your diet. That simple change will move the needle and possibly the scale, but even more than it might expect in other ways, especially around visceral fat. This is the fat doing the real damage and more than just the scale weight of it all, because the more visceral fat you have on your body, the more likeliness that you will not do well. Episode 119 goes in a lot about fat loss after 40. There's so many of them. Episode number 2 goes on how fast can I lose fat in a sustainable way, if you want to go through some of those processes. Now, number 5, the 3-3-3 gym rule. Is it smart or is it just trending? This was really interesting. I was like, what is this? Well, it's been searched a lot. It's 3 days lifting, 3 days cardio, 3 days rest. It's all over social media and we see it a lot, and it's like a brand new discovery. That's what it's being dressed up as. Here's the surprise. It's not far off from real research. The American College of Sports Medicine released new resistance training guidelines this year. It's their first update in 17 years, and it's built around a meta-analysis, 137 studies covering more than 30,000 people. Again, lots of science and lots of people in this situation. Their number was train each major muscle group at least twice a week, about 10 sets per muscle group weekly if you're chasing growth. Do it twice a week, stay consistent. That beats any complicated split you see online. The trend reinvented something that has already existed, and just consistency over time beats complexity. And that's what is really important about this. So the good news is if you need a simple exercise, we do push-pull legs, then 3 days cardio, then 3 days rest. You'll be more than able to do it. But also, I'm a big fan of cycling through muscle groups. And even more importantly, what I enjoy is making sure that the person that is doing the workouts does the routine that best suits their needs. That's really important. And their circumstances, their situations, their experience, those are all really important things. So I want to take a quick moment here before we keep moving. We're halfway through. If today you're listening in and you have questions about your own health, well, I have the Health Hot Seat. This is a place where you can come on to the podcast and get real questions answered by yours truly. I've done episode 35, and there's another one that I did with Dominic. And let me see this real quick. Which episode is that? I believe it was episode 105. There we go. Episode 35 and 135. So 35 and 105 is where the Health Hot Seat is. So you can listen to those two, and I'd be more than happy to look to see how it can help you. It's pretty simple. You're going to check the show notes. There'll be a link to be able to fill out a form that'll give me all the information I need to know from your health situation. We'll schedule a time to get on a call recording here like this, and then we're going to go through a live coaching session on the podcast. So that's the Health Hot Seat. All right, going back into number 6, why guys are ditching the treadmill sprint for zone 2. A study in JAMA Network Open followed more than 122,000 patients. The fittest group had an 80% lower mortality risk than the least fit group. That's great. That's obvious. Low fitness outranked diabetes, smoking, even existing heart disease as a risk factor for early death. Okay, so that's something to, if you're just literally weak and feeble, then you are at even more risk than someone who's able and strong but has diabetes. Your fitness level, just want to remind it and say it again, predicts survival more than most diseases that we're scared of. So you want to be fit, and it's directly related to your VO2 max. It's your engine, your cardiovascular engine in your body. So it's important to be efficient with how your body moves oxygen and the more ability to move more oxygen. So I've got a client that I've talked about in the past. Neil is 44 years old. He's in a business. He's got 3 kids, 6 months. He could barely move up a ladder, working with his legs because they were burning, and climbing stairs was out of breath. And we started doing some zone 2, 30-minute rides on a bike. It's just really an easy pace, and it's the type of pace that you can actually hold your breath to. And as we progress, we're able to move that up to obviously more distance, more time, and he's able to keep up and not have to experience these issues that were causing him aches, pains, and challenge earlier on. Now, you can add 2 30-minute zone 2 sessions a week at a conversational pace. Let's say a 6 or 7 out of 10, 5, 6, 7 in that range. It's just, you just got to keep going. I did a 20-mile run today. I talked about it a little bit, but I'm running a marathon. My oldest son challenged me, Levi, to the Akron Marathon. It's September 27th, and it's 68 days from now. And I have to start ramping up. So I ran 20 miles. It was very much a zone 2. I could easily have a conversation. I just knew I needed to check the box. I wasn't even sure if I was going to do this late night recording, but here we are. I still have energy somehow. And here we are. So I'm doing it. And the zone 2 stuff is helping out. I also have a desk bike setup where I actually work on my computer and I bicycle in more of a zone 2. So heart rate from my watch is in the 120, 130 range roughly. And at 43, that's kind of zone 2. Number 7, fiber maxing. We've heard this maxing with a double X. The nutrition trend that's backed by real data. Let's talk about this. The American Society of Nutrition found only 5 to 10% of men actually hit their recommended fiber intake. Most guys are getting half of that they need in a day. The real number, it's 14 grams per 1,000 calories of how much you're consumed there. So that's super important. If you're eating 2,000 calories, then we're at 28 grams. And then if we're at 2,500 calories, then we're adding an extra. So that would be 35 grams. So we're talking about, I always tell guys that they should be aiming for a minimum of 30 a day, and you're going to get fiber from mainly 2 to 3 grams at a time from most fruits, vegetables, and starchy carbs. Certainly there's some outliers in a sense, and I have a fiber PDF. If you're interested, it lists 50 top fibrous foods, so you can start to pick those out. You can just email me, Brian at brianparana.com, and I'll send it over. Pretty simple. I don't have a landing page. I don't have anything. I'll just send it to you. It's something I give my clients all the time. So that's something that's really important. And we want to make sure that you are eating enough. And we don't need to eat kale. It's beans, oats, berries, broccoli, cauliflower, peppers, onions, tomatoes, things like that. And this is a good thing because fiber slows digestion in a good way. It feeds your gut bacteria, probiotics, like say garlic. It's a prebiotic. It's onions, prebiotic. These are things that you want to eat so that your gut health is happy. And it keeps your blood sugar levels stable throughout the day. That paired with protein is a classic win of the protein fiber foundation rule that I have is where's the protein? Where's the fiber? Those are two questions that you need to answer when it comes to building your meals. All right. And you'll eat less calories in a day and you'll have more energy, especially in that midday 3 p.m. time. We want to add one fiber source to 2 meals a day this week. All right. So pay attention to that and make sure that you don't just fiber max or anything like that. The other thing would be to don't rely on just the high fiber wraps and the bars and all that stuff. We want to eat whole foods. That's the point, to get a lot of nutrition in there as well. All right. Question 8, what your smart ring or watch is telling you. The American College of Sports Medicine 2026 trend report looked at fitness-focused users. 70% of them now use data like HRV, sleep, and recovery scores to guide their training. This is interesting, and it's a big shift from 5 years ago. I remember HRV, I didn't even know what it was, and then this was back in 2013 when I discovered it. 2014, we started using it. And this is your heart rate variability, and we want to have that as high as possible, meaning that your heart rate, the frequency at which it operates is variable, meaning that it's not just this monotone like doon 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 like that where it's just on the beat. We don't want it to be that way. We want it to be very boom 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 boom. But you want this variation in that because that means that your heart is healthy. So just explaining what that is. So this is a big shift. The catch, the data is only as good as what you do with it. Bad sleep score should change your workout if it is really bad. But also we want to make sure that we don't associate with whatever this number is on this app or the watch as well. We have to evaluate that and constantly reassess that. And sometimes you get so locked into whatever the readiness score is that you actually skip training days, even if they felt fine. And that's a challenge too. I actually was doing a lot of analyzing on my watch, and I ended up just stopped doing it because it didn't give me the valuable feedback that I thought I thought it was going to, or that I needed to know and understand. But at the very least, you can pick a sleep or your HRV as one metric and then just pay attention to it so that you can recover, or your bio battery, and pay attention to that. Number 9, the blood tests biohackers run that your annual physical just passes up. Guys that chase longevity aren't doing mystical, magical things. They're testing more than a standard physical covers. Things like DEXA scans, which show your real muscle to fat ratio, continuous glucose monitors. They're tracking the variations of glucose in their blood and how fast it recovers when you eat a meal. They track your blood sugar levels all day, and they don't have to get poked at the doctor's office. They are looking at expanded hormone panels that go pretty deep, much more than the basics. And if you ever go into the doctor, then you do want to pay attention to that. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Episode 49, I did 13 questions you should absolutely be asking your doctor every time that you go in there. Now, in Hone Health's 2026 longevity survey, found these tests on longevity-focused providers recommend most, and none of them require private clinic membership to access. All right. Now, we do want to pay attention to, again, this is a telehealth longevity company surveying doctors in its own private network, not an independent or peer-reviewed body. So just throwing that out there. The direction of the claim holds up against other 2026 longevity trend coverages, but it's a company survey, not a clinical research study. So just want to throw that out there. You do want to go to the doctor, and you do want to have blood panels ran at an appropriate amount of testing that needs done on a deeper level, not just cover one thing. All right. And you don't need all of them either, because a normal blood panel doesn't necessarily mean it's not optimal. We just don't need 150 things tested per se, but we do need them regularly tested. And that's probably the bigger thing. Is even basic hormone and metabolic panels tested once a year, and you sit down with a doctor that understands the numbers, then you can actually have a understanding of what is happening in your body. Question 10, why men don't talk about the mental health aspect. And this is something that, guys, I've talked about it. We shared it on a variety of different podcasts. I want to say 73 was a big one. Let me double check here. I've got my list. Episode 73, yeah, with Andy Grant. We talked a lot about mental health there. And it's very important to understand. Even episode 135 talked about a lot of mental health with Nikki Billou. So heads up, guys. It's a men's mental health resource. Reports that men make up roughly 75 to 80% of suicide deaths. That's pretty significant. A study in the American Journal of Psychiatry found fewer than 1 in 5 men had seen a mental health professional in a year before the suicide. For contrast, for women, that number is closer to 1 in 3. Men ask for help far less often than women do, even though the stakes are higher or just as high. Guys will fix their diet, they'll fix their lifts, they'll get their labs checked. They skip the one thing that is focusing on all of it. It's in the head. A scale, a blood panel will never share these things. And maybe it will with certain blood panel markers, but you get what I say, is that you can just say you're fine. And that's a big problem. You need to make sure that you are getting the support, the community, the direction that you need to improve your quality of life. All right. I'm not doing great. It's a simple sentence that you can allow you to then be open and more aware of men's mental health. And that's some undertone of this whole podcast, Driven for Health, in the first place, is to help you better understand how to put yourself forward first. So find an actual qualified person that can help you work through some of the challenges that you're facing so that you can live a fun, experience driven life, that you add value to the world, that you see value in yourself. Here we go. Wrapping it up. We have 10 things, real studies behind them. They'll be in the show notes. Here's what I want you to pay attention to. The news are always cycling different things every week. New drugs, trends, FDA updates. But the bottom line are the basics of what you need to be doing. Picture your phone at 3%. You don't wait for it to die before you plug it in. You charge it every day before you need it. Same thing that should be happening with the core four that I have. We have training and movement. We've got food, nutrition. We've got sleep. We got hydration. These things need done every day. And the podcast offers a lot of those. If any of these are questions that you are typing in and trying to figure out, this is really good. I hope that this was helpful for you and cleared some things up. So we covered a couple of things like fiber, low testosterone, men's mental health, all very important. If I can help you in any way, I would love to. I've got a couple of resources that could be useful for the nutrition. I have the Lose 3 Pounds in 3 days. The link will be in the show notes. A very simple, easy protocol to follow that will allow you to align with what your health goals are and nutrition goals and teach you the basics of what I teach my guys in the Call to Rise. We've got that. If you actually want implementation of the things that you need to do and figure out how to do it into your everyday life, that's great. We've got a couple pillars that I work off of. The call, which is your identity of being the best version of yourself for you, most importantly, but the people around you. We've got the forge, which is the exercise, the movement piece, have an individual program, exercise routine that is designed just for you. We have the fuel. Eat the right foods at the right times in the right amount so we burn belly fat and build muscle along the way. The code is your mindset, the way you think about and perceive health, nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, time management, stress management. It's much more than just, I'm going to learn to eat healthier. There's so many more layers and there's so many testimonials throughout this podcast that share that. And then finally, a brotherhood of doing it around like-minded guys that are driven and very successful in a lot of different ways, but they struggle in their health, being 20, 40, 80 plus pounds overweight and struggling with chronic illness. We can work on that. We can help. And most guys, especially in the take care of themselves category, don't have any solid examples or basis. Well, use me. I'm the team lead and I rise all boats around me. So you check out the website, thecall2rise.com. And lastly, if this podcast resonates, leave a review on Apple, Spotify. That'd be so helpful so we can spread the word and share it with someone who needs this podcast so they can get better. That's it for Driven for Health podcast. I appreciate you coming, listening, and participating with me here. Thank you.